Today we are gonna do my entire houjicha powder collection, and this is what we have currently with me right now. I am gonna unnecessary noise outside. Anyways, what was I saying? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going over all of my houjicha powders. Now this is currently what I have with me in here, and I'm also going to go over a few of the other powders that I've tried but I don't have with me right now because I used it all. So I also have my delicious houjicha latte, of course, to help me film this video. Okay, before we get into the actual houjicha powders, I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown on what houjicha powder is, just in case some of you guys are not as familiar with it or have heard of it and just are not sure exactly what it is. So I'm gonna tell you. So what houjicha is, it's a roasted green tea. So matcha is a green tea, but houjicha is different because of the process that it undergoes when it's being harvested. So houjicha is roasted, meaning it's not shaded. It's not shaded like matcha is, which is why we get that beautiful, like delicate, light green color. Whereas houjicha, we have this brown color. But basically, the biggest difference is that houjicha is roasted, and if that's the only thing that you take from that, take that that it's roasted. So houjicha has less caffeine than matcha does, but it still has a little bit in there, and in terms of taste, it is very roasted, which is why I said if any word that you can remember to correlate with houjicha, it is the word roasted, because typically majority of houjicha powders will have a roasted taste, but a lot of them could be roasted, nutty, smoky, earthy, sweet, bitter, mild. It could be all of those things, but majority of it will be roasted. And that's why I love houjicha so much, because I love anything that's like roasted and like nutty, and I love the super bold ones. So similar to like matcha, whenever I find a matcha powder that has notes of like roastedness in it, I tend to prefer those, and that's why I love houjicha so much. So now that I gave you a quick rundown over houjicha, let's get into the powders. So let's go over the one that I used to make this houjicha latte right here. And for that, I used this Midori Spring Organic Hoji Premier Houjicha in this 100-gram tin. And this is one that I actually found off of Amazon. And I scored because this is one of my favorite houjicha powders. I tried their matcha, I think, a while back, and I wasn't too big of a fan with it. So when I saw that they also had a houjicha powder, I was really interested to see if I would like it, and I love it. I love it. I feel like this one is such a good everyday one. Like this one, I always find myself gravitating towards when I want my like afternoon houjicha latte, and that's why I used it today in my latte, because it's just so good. It's like the right balance of being bitter, being not super bold, but also having enough of that like roastedness flavor. This one also has hints of caramel in it, which I love because it adds like a little sweetness to it. And this one's just, I feel like this could be for beginners, this could be for advanced drinkers. It's just a very good middle ground, very well balanced houjicha powder. My tip for you for this one, if you do decide to purchase this powder does so well with cinnamon and brown sugar. That is a drink combination that I use all the time, and because of the specific notes of this one, like the caramelness of it, it works so well with the brown sugar and the cinnamon. It kind of like brings out the caramel like taste a little bit more. So that is my tip. When it comes to houjicha, I feel like bitter is like a good thing, especially if you want like a really rich and roasted houjicha powder like I do. I prefer the ones that are really bold and really bitter, and it's not a bad thing, so I don't want that to like scare you away when I say that it's bitter, because I think houjicha and the way that it tastes and the profile that it has, the bitterness makes it so much better. I believe that it makes it taste so much better. So don't be afraid when I say bitter, and don't be afraid to try really bitter hojichas, because I think some of the best. And I think a good hojicha should have some of that in there just because of the way that it's processed too. You would think, you know, like it would have a lot more bitterness to it because of the way it's processed compared to like matcha. So anyways, I just wanted to put it out there because majority of the ones in here, they're bitter, like to some extent, to some degree, but bitterness, good. So next up, I think I've reviewed this one before and it is still in this bag. I do not love the design of the hojicha like holder thing that it comes in. But anyways, this is from the brand Sorate, and this is also a well-known matcha brand, and I reviewed a couple of their matcha powders. They are one of my top favorite matcha brands. Such good quality matchas, but also their hojicha is probably like top 3 hojicha powders of all time for me. It is because of how bitter, roasted, rich. I don't have a fourth one, but it's delicious. It really is so good, and it is so bitter in the best way, and it's so deep and rich in taste. Like you can tell by the color of it, it is gorgeous. Like it's such a deep dark brown color, and the taste wise it reminds me of like a very very dark chocolate. You know, and similar to when you have like dark chocolate, you get some of that bitterness, and that's kind of what it tastes like in this one, like a dark chocolate with the bitterness and the creaminess of it. Oh, it's so good. And when you add like a little bit of like sweetener in there, it's like the perfect balance of like sweetness and bitterness and creaminess and richness, and it's just good. Like, please try this, please. And maybe find a better way to store it than I have, because this is not cute, but it's what it is and what it's in. But this is probably one of the best hojicha powders of all time. Next up, we have Rocky's Matcha Hojicha Powder. And you guys know Rocky's Matcha, they have amazing matcha powders. One of my favorites, I always recommend it to people when they're starting off in matcha, because they have a really good ceremonial blend that I think is perfect for people getting into matcha and figuring out the type of tastes and profiles they like. So they also have a hojicha powder, and I will say this one is probably the least hojicha like that I've ever tried. Like, it doesn't really taste like hojicha too much. It's very very mild in the roastedness and like the nuttiness. Not really any like recognizable notes that are very like pronounced in this powder or this hojicha. It's just very like one note. There's like a slight bitterness to it, but it's not very rich at all either. And I feel like when I use this hojicha powder, it's very like watery in terms of like texture when I add it to like my lattes. And it's not because like I'm using too much water or anything, it's just the experience that I have when I use this one. But I would say if any of the things that I've said so far about hojicha kind of like makes you a little bit nervous to try it because you don't know necessarily if you like bitter or like roasted notes, I think this one would be a good place to start before like trying something like the sorate one, because this one I think it would scare you off. But this one, because it's, you know, very 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 mild, I think you could try it and just see, and if not, that at least you tried something, you know, tried it out. But anyways, yes, this one I probably won't repurchase again, just because I typically like a really bold hojicha powder. But there's nothing wrong with it, it's just not what I typically like in my powders. And again, a really good beginner for those of you who want to try. Okay, next up we have Little Match Studios Hojicha Powder. And this is another top 3 favorite hojicha powders of all time so far. And this one is It's amazing. This one, I really feel like I have to slow myself down just because I will go through this so fast. I really love how deep and how rich and bold this hojicha is, and I love how bitter it is. Like, the bitterness of this, it's so good, and it's so bold in the bitterness and so bold in like the full bodiness of the hojicha powder. I just am obsessed with this one. This one is such a good quality hojicha powder, and again, similar to the sorate one, you can tell by the color just how rich and how bold it is. But yeah, this one is so good. Next up, we have yedoensis hojicha powder. This is another one that I found off of Amazon when doing some research for my series. But this is another one that I am glad I found. This one reminds me of coffee, like coffee beans and coffee grounds. So if you miss the taste of coffee because you can't handle the caffeine, I think this would be a really good substitute in terms of taste, because it has like that bitterness of like the coffee beans and like the bitterness of some coffees that have that, and I think this is just a really good one in terms of that taste. It has like the bitterness. This one isn't as bold, I would say, in terms of like the depth of it. Like, this one isn't super creamy, this one isn't super rich. It is lighter, but it still has that great like roastedness to it and that bitterness level that I enjoy. So if you like the taste of coffee or something similar to coffee, I would try this one. I don't think it tastes exactly like coffee, but I feel like it resembles coffee a little bit in the taste of it, so I would suggest trying this one if you do miss coffee, or if you even like the taste of coffee. Then lastly that I have here with me today is this hojicha powder from the brand Kyoto Yamasan. And this one is interesting because on the front it says organic hojicha powder for baking, and I saw on the actual like product description and on the back of here it says that it's for hojicha lattes as well. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try it, but I'm gonna say this needs to stick to baking because I did not really enjoy the way that it tasted as a latte. Like, it was kind of funky, almost like it had a funky taste to it and didn't really taste like hojicha to me. Like, there wasn't that distinct like roastedness to it, and if anything it was like nutty, but not like a nutty in hojicha, which I think made me like whoa, like I was like, what is this? And I think maybe this one is really like, you could enjoy it in your hojicha lattes, but I think I would suggest to use this for baking, which is probably what I'm gonna be doing. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy that one. It just had like a weird like taste to me that I didn't really enjoy. And now we're gonna go through the ones that I don't have with me right now, but I do recommend. And the first one that I don't have with me right now is matchaful, and I'll put a picture of it here. But matchaful, their hojicha powder is delicious. It is another favorite of mine. This one I also found off of Amazon. They are currently sold out, I think, so maybe they haven't harvested their hojicha yet, but I'm hoping that'll come back soon because I'm gonna definitely repurchase. But this one it's not as bold in like the bitterness category, but it is rich and it's very creamy, it's very roasted. It does have bitterness to it though. I think it has like a medium bitterness to it, but I feel like it's so good, and it's very like toasted. Like, it reminds you of like toasted like crackers, or maybe like toasted, I don't know, like something toasted bread, but it's not like bready. It's just toasty. Like, that's the profiles I get and the notes I get when I tried their hojicha, but that one is delicious. I feel like that one has like a little bit more of like a saltiness to it in the like profile or the notes of that hojicha. It's like a little bit saltier than the other ones that I've tried, but I think that's why I think of like maybe like toasted rice. Like, that's what I think about when I tried that one, and it's delicious, and I love that it has like that note of it, and it just tastes really good as a latte. And then the last one that I've tried that I definitely recommend is 3 tea bowls, and have another picture here. But I think I tried theirs for the first time, and that's what really, I think, sparked my love for hojicha all over again, and just wanting to try out more brands, because I knew I already loved hojicha, but I think I was just so like on my matcha, like I still am on my matcha like kick, but I think when I first tried their hojicha, that's what made me like go even more in depth into like hojicha powders and wanting to drink it a lot more. So I purchased theirs and I loved it. I feel like it was such a good beginner, like a beginner hojicha, and it's light, it's a little bit bitter, it's creamy, it's nutty, it's roasted. It's just very well balanced, kind of similar to the Midori spring one. I think this is one you could drink every single day, and it's a good daily hojicha powder, and it's just delicious and so well balanced, and you can't go wrong with it. Again, it's like the one that really made me want to get more into hojicha, and it also comes in I think 100 grams of it. But yeah, so those were all of my current hojicha powders. I already have a couple in my head and on my list to buy next, so stay tuned for that. If there are any hojicha powders that you want me to review next, please put them in the comments below and I will try them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!